The old house stood on a hill shrouded in mist. It was a grand place with dark wood and high ceilings. A young couple, John and Mary, stood at the threshold, their faces lit with hope. They dreamed of peace, of starting a family in this secluded haven. As they stepped inside, their footsteps echoed in the silence. The air was heavy, thick with the scent of decay and the weight of forgotten memories.
Let's start unpacking, Mary. This place needs some life.
They began unpacking, their laughter echoing through the empty halls. John carried boxes, his heart light. Mary hung curtains, letting the weak sunlight filter through dusty windows. It was in the dining room that they first noticed it, a heavy antique table set for three. A chill ran down Mary's spine.
"That's odd," she murmured, her voice thin in the stillness.
Don't worry, John chuckled, his arm around her. Probably just how the previous owners left it.
But his words did little to ease the unease that had settled in her heart. The house felt alive, its silence pregnant with unseen eyes. Each creak of the floorboards, each rustle of leaves against the windows felt like a whisper in the darkness. Night fell, blanketing the house in an oppressive darkness. Candles flickered, casting long, dancing shadows on the walls as John and Mary sat down to their first dinner in their new home. The third chair, shrouded in shadow, seemed to loom larger as the night deepened. John, ever the pragmatist, ignored it, but Mary found her gaze drawn to it again and again. The silence, broken only by the clinking of cutlery, was thick with unspoken tension. A low thud from upstairs made Mary jump.
Must be a branch hitting the roof, he said, his voice calm, but Mary could see the worry in his eyes.
As they ate, a series of small, unexplainable events began to unfold. A plate, left clean on the counter, was suddenly smeared with something dark and viscous. A cold breeze seemed to sweep through the room, extinguishing one of the candles and leaving behind the faint scent of damp earth.
Old pipes and drafts, John muttered, growing increasingly agitated.
Mary, however, felt a knot of fear tightening in her stomach. Something wasn't right. This was more than just an old house settling. This was something else, something sinister that sent shivers down her spine. The following days were a blur of unsettling events. Objects moved. Whispers seemed to emanate from the empty rooms. John, though trying to remain logical, found himself increasingly unnerved. One evening, as they sat down for dinner, a wine glass tipped over, spilling its crimson contents across the table. Neither of them had been near it.
That's it, John exclaimed, rushing outside, convinced someone was playing a prank.
But there was no one there. Only the wind howled through the trees, its mournful cry echoing Mary's growing terror. Later that night, Mary awoke to the sound of heavy footsteps in the hallway. They stopped outside their bedroom door, and she could have sworn she heard the scraping of wood against wood, as if a chair was being pulled away from the table. John slept soundly beside her, oblivious to the fear that clawed at her throat. When morning came, she found muddy footprints on the hardwood floor, leading from the dining room to the foot of the stairs. They were large footprints, too large to belong to either John or herself. Fear, cold and sharp, pierced through her. They were not alone in this house. The discovery of a note hidden within the lining of an old armchair confirmed their worst fears. Written in a spidery script, it spoke of a guest, an entity unseen but ever present. The note laid out a set of rules to be followed, a place always set at the table, silence during meals, no mention of its presence to outsiders. The consequences of disobedience, the note warned, were dire. That night, Mary was plagued by vivid nightmares. She dreamt of cold hands, of suffocating darkness, of a presence that watched her every move. She awoke with a gasp, her heart pounding to find 3 long scratches on her arm. They were still bleeding.
"We need to leave," John admitted, his face pale and drawn. "This house, this guest is dangerous."
But as they packed their belongings, a sense of dread washed over them. The air grew heavy, the silence suffocating. Footsteps echoed on the stairs, slow and deliberate, each step sending shivers down their spines. The guest was growing impatient. They were trapped, caught in a terrifying game they didn't understand. The house held them captive, its grip tightening with each passing moment.